and gentlemen, this is Trisha with Insectopia, and we are here with another Sunday live stream. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We missed our last Thursday because it was Thanksgiving, so everybody took a break. Now we are back at it. I was kind of trying to decide between two different insects that we could sketch. One being the reddish-brown stag beetle, also known as Lucanus capreolus, or the other option was going to be a tree cricket. And I went back and forth between the two of them, and I think somebody who will be coming to the Thursday live stream wanted to do a tree cricket. So I think I'm going to push that one off until next week. And this week, we can do this really awesome stag beetle here. Now, if we wanted... we could look at its body in its entirety. This is a male. You can see that because he's got these huge mandibles. Let's get him close to the camera here. All right. Now, they're called a reddish-brown, stag beetle, and I know that my lighting here makes them look black. But normally, when you put light on them, they reflect kind of a brighter brown. And when we look at the legs head on, we're actually going to see that the legs are a beautiful orange color. It's just not able to see it from this angle. But what we can do is take a really quick measurement. I want to measure from the front of the head to the back of the body, so I am not going to include its mouth parts in our measurement. I've got an idea. I'm going to take this red line here. I want to move it. Won't let me move it. Darn it. Oh well. Alright, it looks like we are... approximately 2.9 or 3 centimeters. Probably 2.9. 2.9 centimeters long. So it's actually a pretty long beetle. Alright, so we are looking at the reddish-brown stag beetle, and I think it's so funny that its common name is reddish-brown and not like another unique name of its own. So I'm actually going to write Lucanus capreolus. On the top, and then I'll put reddish-brown stag beetle underneath, a little bit smaller. Very good. Alright, so we are going to need to get an overall view of my stag beetle's body so we can get everything sized out properly. And you can see with our microscope, it's kind of difficult to get an all-over view. So what I'm going to do is we're going to leave it just like that. And we're going to pull our specimen over here so you can kind of see its full body and up close to its head and its pronotum and the beginning of its elytra. Hi, Avia! It's nice to see you. It feels like it's been a long time, too. I hope you've been enjoying yourself. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Yep, our stag beetle is awesome. So I'm excited about showing you its antenna, too, because stag beetles have very unique antennae. Alright, let's see. Let's get some overall shapes taken care of. Alright, so I'm going to start right here at the head, and I'm going to make my head, or at least the starter shape of our head with 2 parentheses that are capped top and bottom. So I'm going to go ahead, let's see. The mandibles. If you were going to look at the very center of its body and you include the mandibles, I think that the elytra are just a little bit more than half of its body length. So if you did go ahead and give yourself a top, like where you think you want your insect to start and where you think you want your insect to end at the bottom of your paper, you could go ahead and give yourself a very light central line. And that line is going to help keep everything symmetrical. And then we can put some marks along that line. So let's see. This is, I would say our abdomen is going to, or not our abdomen, but our elytra right here are going to be a little bit over half. So probably around here. And then our pronotum, if you look at from here up, I think that the mandibles are going to be about like that. That's going to be my guess. Alright, so when we're making our head shape, we're going to be giving ourselves 2 parentheses, and then finishing them off this way. That's going to be our nice light shape for our head. Our mandibles up here in the front are, I don't know how you want to describe them. They don't have very many teeth. They are fairly, they're fairly narrow, and they do meet evenly up here at the tip. And we're going to be going ahead and zooming in on all of these parts too. So our first very light outline just gives us an idea of how large each of these body parts are going to be in comparison to one another, so that we keep our everything aligned, I guess. So we've got the mandibles up here up front. I might even make my mandibles longer. We'll have to play with that a little bit. Alright, so we've got our head, and then our pronotum is going to be right after. And funny enough, I'm going to make the pronotum's overall shape just like I made my head. I'm going to give myself 2 parentheses, and I'm going to cap them off. Kind of like that. Let's see. But our pronotum is longer than the head, so making sure I went ahead and I made my pronotum a little bit longer, my head a little bit shorter. I do love this. I do love this stag beetle. This one was actually collected. Let's see. Oh, this one was collected in 2021. This one was on my my solo road trip. I collected this one in Kansas. That's fun. While I was driving through Kansas. Alright, so we've got our head, we have our pronotum outline. We want to move back to our elytra. I'll go ahead and angle our specimen forward a little bit. Now you can see it does have a little bit of shoulders here, but there aren't a whole lot. So I'm going to say we can give ourselves a little bit of space in between where the pronotum is and then where the elytra start. The shoulders aren't huge, so I would say keep them overall in line with the rest of the body. And then the edges of our elytra are parallel until the very end where it rounds out. And it has a fairly blunt, and it rounds out fairly bluntly, I guess. So you could go ahead and make your lines parallel all the way up to the very end. Now you'll notice that my insects always get larger than expected, so even though I marked that this was going to be the end of my insect, you know, it came down a little bit further. That's fine. That's why I give myself a little bit of extra room. And that is going to be our rough outline for our beautiful stag beetle. Now, we could go ahead and add kind of a stick legs if we wanted. The front legs are going to come out like this. Our middle legs are going to come out in that location. And then our hind legs are likely going to look more like this so that they are even across the body. And we'll be looking at those under our microscope, too, to make sure we've got all the nifty features on them. Very good. There aren't any stag beetles in your restoration area? Are you restoring, are there any woodlands in the area that you are restoring? There are some large historic stands of eucalyptus. That's awesome. I would be surprised if you had fallen trees that you didn't have stag beetles. Oak. Yeah, so it's very possible that nobody has collected and recorded anything on iNaturalist, but that there are still stag beetles in the region. When you're looking at borer, that's not a true statement. I'm not going to say that. Alright. So, I'm looking up here in the very front of my head. I want to kind of get some of these mandibles finished out. Now, I'm noticing that my mandibles are a little bit wider towards the bottom than I started mine. So, I'm going to go ahead and round it out just a little bit. Let's see. up in front, we would call this these mouth parts the mandibles. These are the mandibles of the male. Right, so female stag beetles don't have as large of huge mandibles like this, and that's the way we're going to be able to tell them apart from their female counterparts. I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm not going to give the bottom edge of our mandible just yet because I want to do the entire head line across together. So, I'm going to get up here and do this one. Now, it looks like if we were to zoom in on the mandibles here, that they actually don't meet evenly at the tip. They overlap each other just a little bit. And it looks like... yeah, it looks like the one on the right is on top of the other one. So if we were going to sketch that, I would say just making sure that the one on the left comes just below the one on the right. Alrighty. I want to make sure I've got this wide base here. All right, and then we not only have these long, smooth mandibles, but we do have two teeth, one on each side, right about here. And this is as good a time as any to add those in. So if we come down maybe about a third of the way down the mandibles, we can add that one little dentation or the one little tooth there. I was going through all of my line drawings today that I've done in ink, and I was putting together that that coloring book, and I'm pretty excited about the way that it's coming out. It's looking really good. I wanted to ask you guys, I was also going to go and kind of walk around a store and look at coloring books, but how many pages should a coloring book be? What do you think? Alright, I'm happy with my mandibles. I hope that we were here at our mandibles long enough for you to be happy too. No worries. So if you look right here, it looks like there's a little bit of yellow fluff. How many different orders of insects am I representing? I have not looked at it, but probably... let's see. I mean, butterflies and moths, bees, wasps, and ants, beetles, grasshoppers, praying mantids, walking sticks, stoneflies. I don't think I have any mayflies, hellgrammites, earwigs. Probably 12 to 14 orders. About 50 pages. Alright, sounds like a plan. Very much can do. Alright, I'm looking at the front ridge right here of our head. We have our two mandibles up in front, and this line right here is not kind of straight across. It comes forward just a little bit in the center. It kind of has maybe two mountains up here, and then it comes back down. There is a little bit of of shaping on the edges of our head for the eyes. It would help to look at how many orders you're representing and then have a sort of proportionate number of each representatives. That's fair. But, I mean, if you do, like, in comparison, there's only, you know, with the small orders, for instance, I'm probably only going to have one or two of them. But for the bigger orders, like beetles, I'm probably going to have a lot of beetles. Alright, so I'm going to start this line right here underneath my mandible. And then I already have a really light line across, so I can use that as kind of a guideline. I want to go up above it. I want it to be kind of mountainous up here, maybe 3 ridges up here in the top. And then I want to come back and outline the edge of my mandible. And then after that, these ridges do go up a little bit. They go up a little bit before they go back out. And these 3 ridges are kind of like the end of its head, but also the beginning of the mouth parts. And if you see that little yellow fluffiness in there, stag beetles, if they eat at all, they're going to be drinking things like sugar water, finding sap, going to flowers, or rotten fruits. So they're actually going to get their mouth parts really, really close, and they're going to use these hairs kind of like uptake to help them drink their food. So those yellow hairs down there are actually a part of its mouth parts. Now, I also believe we're looking at some palps there. So if you look, there's this little guy right here, I believe is a labial palp, and so it should have 2 of them, one on either side. It's just that the one on the left is probably tucked behind. So I'm just going to go ahead and give labial palps on either side. Now, if we're moving further back, I'm actually looking at this really nifty ridge here. So there is this ridge that goes above and around the eye, and then it comes back like this. And I was trying to think of a way to get that in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the widest part of these parentheses on either side, and that's where my eyes are going to go. And our eyes are going to be like this. They're almost D-shaped, except that the one edge does have a little bit of an angle towards the center of the head. So just go ahead and give that on either side. I like my left one a lot better than my right one. Let's see if I can make them even. Alright, so I have my 2 compound eyes kind of started here, and now I want to build this ridge that goes around the eye. So what I'm going to do for that is come out here and come up and around, and then it's almost going to be kind of heart-shaped. So there is this larger U right about here. It goes out. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the of what that top shield is. Right here at this line, that's where there's like a true angle on the head. And then coming down from the bottom of our compound eye, it's going to look a little bit like this. And then the bottom of our head does not go straight across either. If you see our central line here, that is going to kind of match or run symmetrically to that arch here. So that's kind of cool. Let's see. Trying to keep my friend straight. Alright, so that looks like, that's what the front of our head looks like. Now, we do have the antennae, and the antennae on this beetle are really, really awesome. So let's go ahead and see if we can change our focus and check out the antennae. Stay. My microscope likes to overcompensate for some of the lighting, so sometimes I have to play with it just a little bit. Very cool. Alright, so the first segment in our antenna is really, really long. And that's one of the things I was trying to see, but the lighting is weird. Let's try to see if this works. Nope. Aha! Yeah, close enough. So, if you see that our first, oh, and if I do this, it'll freeze. There we go. Look at that. Winners. Alright, so if we're looking at our antennae for our reddish-brown stag beetle, the first segment is really, really long. It's this long stem. And then it has 1, 2, 3, 4 segments that are all these squares. And then it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments in what you would kind of consider the club region. But one of the characteristics for the Leucanid beetle, I believe, is the number of antennal segments it has. And I thought that it had 10. Yes. So, Leucanids are supposed to have 10 segmented antennae. So we miscounted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So all stag beetles have 10 segmented comb-like antenna. All right. So if you're looking at the antenna, that region that almost looks clubbed, you can see that it has kind of individual fingers. Those are, we call it a comb-shaped antenna. And I believe that there is a scientific name for that. I think it's pectinate. I guess you can call it clubbed. I really wanted to call it pectinate because it has those ridges, but really, the important thing on our stag beetle antenna is that they have 10 segments. So as you're coming in and sketching our friends here, those antenna segments can go up. In fact, they are connected right here in front of the eyes on this ledge here. So if you see right here and here, that's that frontal ledge, and the antenna connects right underneath it. So if you wanted to sketch, I'm going to sketch the antenna on the left side. It would be like this. We've got the one longer segment. This is the first segment of the antenna, which makes it the scape. Then we have 4 segments that are those small square segments. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And then we have 5 segments that are in that club that are kind of like a comb. And when I'm sketching those, especially when I want to make sure that each one of those segments goes out the way I would like it to, I will create one larger region that I know all 5 segments are gonna fit into, and then each segment I'll just bring out to the edge. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can erase that outer line, and that gives me those really pretty comb-shaped antenna. All right. And we are going to the pronotum. Let's see, I've been missing out on the chat, so let's check out what you guys have been saying. Ooh, an order page with quick drawings to color before you turn the page. Kind of like smaller examples of what that order is. That would be fun. That's a chunky beetle. That's true. Oh, I'm glad that you dropped by, Marley. All right, very good. So we are back, and you know, right here, now that the lighting is better and it's not making it look all black and dark, you can see that the stag beetle is a reddish brown color. And so I laugh about it because its common name is the reddish brown stag beetle. And I think that that's just funny because using the color reddish brown as part of a common name just makes me laugh. But that's what it is. Ooh, look at those punctations. Yes, they are beautiful. And all of that gold right here around the edges between the head and the thorax, or the head and the pronotum, those are little hairs. Those are setae. And I'm curious, we might be able... How pretty they are. Let's see. Just needs a little bit more light. There we are. So yeah, those are really pretty golden hairs down there. And I did look up and I asked some people if punctations are going to help in flight, kind of like golf balls have punctations to help during flight. And I have not gotten a good answer yet. So that's something that's still kind of in the back of of my mind, and I'm not sure even who to ask about that. All right. So I think that this edge here at the back of my head is just a little bit too pointed, so I'm going to even it out just a little bit. And that'll be fine with me. And then I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to add all of these little lines here for those seedy, or for all of those little orange hairs, those little golden hairs. All right. We have our pronotum next, and if we look at it from the top, let's see. The edges of our pronotum do come up just a little bit, and then they are going to round back down. Now, I think that this is a fairly even shape. It's fairly, it doesn't have, the leaf word in my head is the margin is entire. But it has a smooth edge on the edge of the pronotum. It doesn't have any spines or anything like that. Just making sure it comes up a little bit past and then comes back down. From here on my microscope, it almost looks like there is a really strong edge, but I think that's mostly because we're looking at it from a little bit of an angle. So and if you're looking at it straight down, it shouldn't have that edge. All right, if you are looking, I'm going to go ahead and scoot our microscope image down so that we can see more of the elytra and less of the pronotum. There we go. So pretty. So for those of you who like to know how these things are spelled, elytra is spelled this way, E-L-Y-T-R-A. It's these two hardened shells of a beetle. So these two front wings, these hardened front wings of a beetle, they are called elytra. And then, if you look in between the two elytra, you can see what we call the scutellum. It is right here. This little D-shaped right here, that's the scutellum. It sits in between the elytra. All right, so our body does have a little bit of this region right here that it connects. Let's see. This line right here on the end of our pronotum is pretty straight, so I'm going to go ahead and get that in there. And our pronotum doesn't connect to the elytra all the way. We're not going to start the line up here. What I'm going to do is give myself a little bit of a ledge. It's this little tiniest little ledge. But then I'm going to start the elytra from there. Except I want to add this scutellum right here in the center. So let's see. The scutellum is going to go right from the pronotum on the center in between. And then you have your elytra. Very good. So this region right here where they're connected, that's going to be really, really dark. A lot of times we don't see it much. And that gives the front of our beetle a little bit of room to flex while it's looking around, while it's kind of moving, because its head and its pronotum are pretty well affixed to one another. Its head cannot rotate without it, really. So when you're watching these beetles, they actually rotate their bodies from here, from between their pronotum and their elytra. And so that's why we have to give them this little bit of a space, because that's all they can wiggle as they're trying to look around them. Alright, so this is what our elytra elytra look like? And I'm just going to go ahead and give us a really quick kind of whoosh over them so you can see that they're all pretty much the same color. If we zoom in, it probably has some punctations on it. It's kind of pretty. Anyway. Alright, so these elytra are opened up just a little bit. If you want to sketch them that way, that's fine, but they do match evenly at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and make them so that they are even and still connected to each other. So I'm just going to make one solid line. And I've started cheating and using a ruler on the center line of my elytra because they're supposed to be super straight. And my freehand is just not as straight as a ruler yet. Now, the edges of our elytra here, they are not pointed. So originally I had kind of pointed that out, and I'm going to round them out when we're finalizing this. And I'm pretty happy actually with the length and size of my elytra. So I'm going to go ahead and give these lines. And now all we have to do is check out some of these legs. Now, legs of stag beetles are impressive. They have large tarsal claws, they have spines, they have really cool shapes. So we're going to go and check those out. Alright, so this is what it's looking like so far. So we are looking for our front leg, trying to pick the one that is going to be the easiest to, at an angle that's easiest to sketch. Look at how cute. Look at its mouth fluff. This is the front of its head. That's the, those are the hairs that it's going to be using to kind of drink its sugary, nectary water that it finds. And those are the two, I believe those are labial palps. They look like they're on the bottom. Alright, let's see. Alright, so it looks like our front legs are partially hidden by its antenna. And I was trying to find a good angle that we might be able to see the entire leg, but our front legs, for our front legs, it's just not going to happen. So, what I can show you, let's see. So cool. Let's get this in focus. So, right about here, that's our femur. This here is the tibia. It has spines, 1, 2, 3, 4 spines. And then we've got, these is where our tarsal claws start. So what we're going to do is we're going to sketch the femur and the tibia from this view. And then I will change the view so we can check out the tarsal claws. To give you an idea of the length of these legs, our front leg, our front femur, comes out. It's generally going to be connected to the back side of the pronotum, so it's going to be connected right about here. Our femur is nice and wide, and it is just a little bit wider at the base than at the tip. So our leg is probably going to come out a little bit lower than, maybe a little bit higher than that, but lower than what we expected. Probably right about here. Give me 2 seconds to fix that. Alright, so we have that femur that's nice and wide. That's better. Alright, so we've got a femur. Now, the tibia, those spines on the tibia go towards the, go away from the body. So when we are looking at that tibia there, we're starting here where our femur ends, and the inside of the tibia is actually pretty smooth. So the length is going to go up to about the front of the head. So that's going to be our approximate length of our tibia. And then we have a variety of spines, and actually our tibia, it's kind of funny, but it gets a little bit wider at the end because of all of those spines. So the first one, you come up a little bit, you're pretty narrow, and then you have your first little spine here, and then you're going to go just a little bit further, and your secondary spine is just a little bit larger. And then as you're getting to the end here, we have 1, 2 spines at the very end. And so let me go ahead and get us all set up here, and then we're going to add our tarsal claws, or our tarsal segments here. Oh no, I disconnected. I hope that you guys didn't miss too much. I think that with quick sketches in the field, it almost helps to kind of know what you're looking at, and having sketched it before, even if you sketched it like back home or sketched an insect similar. So like if I've already kind of looked and sketched one, I kind of have the ability to know how it might move and the ways that it bends. But insects in the wild are tricky because they're always trying to fly away, especially with things like bees or flies, because as they're pollinating, they generally don't stick around for us. Now, I was really hoping to get a nice clear view of these tarsal segments, but you can see that the tarsal segments are kind of wrapped in with each other. Let's see what happens if I do this. So I think this might be a better view of our tarsi, of our tarsal segments. Our middle legs and our hind legs are probably going to be a little easier to see, but I wanted to get a true view of these guys. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tarsal segments up here on the top. This fifth one is really long, and you have 4 that are smaller. So this one goes from here to about here at the end, but there are 4 more that are 1, 2, 3, and then there's 1 more behind this tarsal, this claw. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and this long one is 5. Oh, good. to work on, so I don't have too much experience trying to sketch insects out in the field because generally I'm sketching insects here at home from a microscope. And so maybe one of these days I'll go out and try my hand and see what happens. I'm sure that it is a whole nother skill set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a claw. So these tarsal segments here are pretty long, but what's always noticeable about my stag beetles is that their last tarsal segment is very long, and generally stag beetles have these giant tarsal claws. So that is a pretty cool feature of these guys. Now we're going to see if we can scooch on back and check out a middle leg here. So the angles at which his legs sit are just a little bit odd, but I think that we've got it from right about here. We can see that this is our middle leg, so our femur is right about here. It comes up, and then the tibia comes down in this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have 5 tarsal segments, again, very similar to the 5 in the first leg. We have 4 squares and then one of those longer raindrop-y shaped questions. Oh, cool. Oh, you got to sketch off a flower crab, a crab spider. Those guys are so fun. Was it one of the yellow crab spiders or was it pink? Those sand wasps with the bright green eyes. I love them. And I used to have a specimen of those guys. I'm not sure if I have them anymore. I would have to look into it. But those sand wasps that have green eyes, that's actually a genus of wasp out there. So if you look that up, you should be able to identify it pretty readily. Alright, so you can see that our femurs are this really pretty orange color, and that is true when they are living also. They have these kind of very bright orange legs, whereas they just have a kind of a dark reddish brown body. And so when you look at these beetles, sometimes they even stand up really tall. They push their front and their middle legs down so they stand up, and they show off those big orange legs. Now for me, orange is a warning color, and I see these mandibles, yes, so maybe they're just trying to be scary, but they don't have any venom, so their only big defense are those big mandibles. And the ladies have those bright orange too. It was kind of a translucent green color. Awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Alright, so that's our front leg. Moving back to our middle leg is going to be, if we kind of imagined this, that's going to be our second and our third segments of our thorax. And so our second pair of legs is going to come out right about here. And my third pair of legs is going to come out right about here. So that will help us kind of know which direction our legs are going from and getting our angles correct. So I would probably fix this. We'll probably fix this hind one too. Alright, so we're going to be bringing our femur up from here. So if we start our femur, it's going to be pretty wide. coming up to being a little bit more narrow. That's fine. Right about there, coming up. Now our tibia comes down, and the spines that you can see on that outer edge are spines that are going outside of the body. So if we come down from here, we have one little itty bitty spine, and then a second spine that's significantly larger, really close to it. You know what? That actually might be playing with my mind. We're going to try the other leg, because I think we can get a better angle than that was. This is a better angle. All right, that's a better middle leg. So our mid tibia right here, we would call it a mesotibia if you want. Bloop, 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 comes down. I want it to come down towards the body a little bit. Got 1, 2. And then the bottom of that tibia, it looks like there's almost a ring of spines. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spines around the base of that tibia. And that's what I say, like the end of the tibia, they can kind of flare out a little bit because they have all of these spines at the very end of the tibia. And a lot of times they'll kind of flare out like that, and then the tarsal segments will start in between them. And so you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the longer one, and 2 tarsal claws. Alright, so that's going to be our middle leg. And then our hind leg, oh no. Here, I actually want our tarsal claws, instead of going down like that, it will be more realistic for them if they go off to the right, and then I won't have to worry about them and the hind legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if they go off to the side like that, I'll be able to put my hind leg in here. The goldenrod crab spider. Did you see it on a goldenrod? Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, he's so cute. I've been working on trying to decide what we were going to start sketching when I run out of bugs, because I'm afraid that I'm going to run out of specimens. But I think what we can do is we can break into the aquatic and the specimens and alcohol. You saw it beneath a California wild rose. Beautiful. So not on a goldenrod, but it was still beautiful golden. I love that. I feel like that's one of the things I need to better in my collection. I probably should have more species or more types of spiders. Alright, so a cool thing is that we can see the entire hind leg when we just flip it upside down. The other thing that we're going to notice is that if you look at our femur here, it's actually pretty short. All right, so when our femur is coming out towards the edge of our elytra, it honestly isn't going to go too far. In fact, maybe our middle femur is out a little bit too far, but our hind, now that we know a little bit better, our hind femur is more going to be like this. It's just going to be the edge, because you can see it's coming way up from here and coming down. Now, our tibia is very similar in that it's narrow on the top and then it flares down at the bottom, although there are less spines on the hind leg than there were on the front and the middle leg, which I guess is kind of interesting. You have almost what I would call a spur, because it looks like it might be able to angle itself on the inside of the hind leg. And then I believe our tarsi are the same formula as all the other ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So we have 4 of these rectangular segments. And then our 5th one is a raindrop with claws. He's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy. Alright, so that is our reddish-brown stag beetle. You know that I like to kind of sketch halfway, sketch one set of legs, one set of antenna. I've been going back and forth with computerizing, copying and pasting it so that I've got each of the legs, or I can make it a complete your own type of thing in the coloring book so that you have to sketch the legs on the other side. Could be fun. Alright, so that, my friends, is the Leucanus capreolus, the reddish-brown stag beetle. Am I on iNaturalist? Yes, I am. Let me go ahead and get you my link. I am Trisha24 on iNaturalist. This is my link. Yes, we still need to do water quality, a water quality chat, especially because I want to get into the big numbers and stuff. I believe I'm pretty close to doing that with you guys. I have a couple more indices that I want to look up before I'm ready to talk about all of them, and I want to make sure that I cover most of them in the one class. There's also a part of me that wonders if I reached out to Dr. Merritt, if he would stop by and hang out with us for that hour, because he's the guy he's one of the many people who came up with the river continuum concept, which is a huge thing in aquatic entomology and biomonitoring. You are simply Ivea. Well, are you the only Ivea out there? That's pretty awesome. I have 1 follower now. Oh, I've got 2. Very cool. I have posted a good number of my observations that a good number of my species that I've seen, but not everything. I have a little bit of catching up to do, but I think that most of my specimens that are from, like, the summer when I was traveling out west, and all of my mothing nights. Those are all on here. It's pretty nifty. Oh, I miss mothing. Maybe we could do a session where we sketched from some of my pictures. Some, like, moth pictures. Because we could probably talk about shapes and colors a little bit. Oh, cool. Alright, yeah, you've gotten me lost in my naturalist, and I want to get back. So, that is... Would love to sketch from the moth pictures. Good to know. Because I generally don't collect a lot of moths. A lot of the smaller moths, because I'm afraid that I'm going to rip their wings, and I don't really like to kill the moths if I know that the specimens aren't going to be great. I don't really enjoy micro pinning, but there are a good number of them that I've been really enjoying taking their pictures and doing a little bit of macro photography with them. Yeah, drawing Lepidoptera in the field. Yeah, I can imagine that. Lepidoptera are one of those that I could definitely use some practice on too. So, moths could be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll start with those. Sounds great. And we are closing in on winter. I'm getting a little bit, once I get my coloring book done and I have a couple more projects finished, I would like to start back up my Guess That Bug on Instagram. That's something that I do in the wintertime, kind of when I can't go outside and I'm all cooped up, I start taking more and more microscope images. It's a good time. Alrighty. So, I think that is it for today. I've had a great time chatting with you out there. I'm glad that Marley dropped in for a moment. Eve, thank you for hanging out with us the whole time. I hope that your reddish-brown stag beetle is beautiful. And that you had time to do both sets of legs. Now, let's see. I think next Thursday we're probably going to do a tree cricket because we haven't done that family yet. I was also thinking we might do water pennies because those are aquatic and they're kind of fun. They've got cute little legs. And they're a very, very unique insect. A shape that you normally don't see. Okay, so I think that is it. I hope that you all, I think we're good. Tree crickets and water pennies. Yeah. Sewing Nancy says she wants a bunch of coloring books. Sounds good. Oh, yay! Thank you, Avea. So now I just have to finish it up. I'm going through and getting a good number of those pages finished outlining and getting them all together. I have a couple of other kind of fun ideas. So maybe turning one or two of them into a connect the dots. I thought would be a lot of fun. So I'm working on some stuff. We're gonna have the coloring book is gonna be a lot of fun. Alright. How are the tarot cards coming? The tarot cards are coming well. I think that the coloring book is going to be first because it is closer to being done. Plus, with a coloring book, I don't need to color it. Whereas my tarot cards, I'm digitally coloring them. So those are going to take just a little bit longer. We're trying to get them done. Oh no, I turned everything off. Do. Don't mind me. I was talking about these salt flats with one of my students, and so I had changed my live stream closer screen. Ah. better. That's a neat ecosystem. I agree. Okay, I'll share it with you guys. This is a picture of the salt flats in Arizona. Yes. So when you've got a good number of, when you've got a good amount of water in here, when it's nice and raining and there's monsoons, the salt flats will pick up a good amount of water, just like this. I believe I have a really cool picture of a water scorpion standing on top of this water body. But this was a really cool place to collect because there are tiger beetles everywhere. The tiger beetles really, really like this nice sandy environment, and being close to water, the sand holds its shape really well. So it's a really good place for tiger beetle babies, and therefore tiger beetle adults and mating pairs. And I think while we were there, we collected something like 5 or 6 different species of tiger beetles, and there are some species that are endemic to this region, meaning they're only found here. So that was something, that's, a little bit of cool information about my live screen closer background that's been around forever. It's just what hangs out back there. All of the scenery pictures that you see are pictures that I've taken myself around the country here. So they're all pictures that I've chosen of areas that I love. All right, so as a reminder, I teach on a platform called OutSchool for children ages 5 to 8, 9 to 12. If you know a student who might want to learn a little bit about entomology, sketch with me, do insect studies, a different insect study every week, they can join me on OutSchool. There is a link in the description box below that if you follow it and you sign up through that link, you'll get $20 towards free classes, so that is exciting. That is a reminder to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not already. Keep in mind that only my subscribers can chat in the chat box, all right? So that is one of the ways that we make sure that we don't have any bots or people chatting in our chat box. We like to keep it clean. That is a QR code that links to my PayPal. If you'd like, you can. There is also a link in the description box below. I know that a number of you already do, so I'm not going to harp on that. Thank you so much to those of you who do. Now, I do post on Instagram, and you can email me at Trisha@theinsectopia.com if you would like to share your sketches, or if you would like to ask me any buggy questions. If you see a cool bug outside and you take a picture and you want it identified, any of those things, I love to answer those questions, so feel free to reach out. Yes, thank you, Avea and Sewing Nancy, for hanging out with me today. I super, super love it, and I love answering all of your questions. Your top looks like it could have come from Arizona. It's a brand new one. How exciting is it? I got it recently from a friend, and I just love it so much. It's nice and warm. So I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your week. I'm going to go work on a coloring book. Stay buggy.